Hey there, StarCraft fans! It's Falcon Paladin coming at ya with yet another edition of StarCraft Brood War Remastered. Today, gonna be a match between Sharp and Light here on Fighting Spirit from 2019, which was 3 years ago now, which makes me feel very old. Top right, we have a brown Terran player, it is Sharp, and in the bottom right, an orange Terran player named Light under his Star Master name. I've been getting requests for a TVT for a while now, so I figured, hey, Sharp versus Light is an excellent TVT. Or it should be, because both of these players are elite at Terran, and let's see how good their TVT is. Anyway, we're going to see a lot of tanks, a lot of vultures, maybe a few Goliaths, maybe battle cruisers, and maybe wraiths. Battle cruisers and wraiths are very, very rare in StarCraft Brood War replays. But in TVT, they're not so rare as long as we get to the late game. And yeah, here we are on Fighting Spirit. Everybody knows what Fighting Spirit is. It's been on the ladder for very, very, very long. It's not on the ladder right now, but it was for like several seasons of ladder games. Which means ASL used it for several years as well. And just because it's a very, very good map, very, very balanced. It's got a center base that's is super hard to control, but, you know, if you're desperate, it's there. And a natural that is very, very easy to hold if you're Terran or Protoss, and also Zerg. Alright, man. So, Barracks coming up. And Barracks coming up for Light here a little bit after. A little tiny, tiny bit after Sharp, which means he's ahead. But if that would prove who would win this game, then we would just shut this replay down and go home, right? Just because you're ahead in the early game does not mean you're going to win. Anywho, what's going on here? Hit that like button if you're excited for a TVT. And hit that subscribe button if you want 5 days of Brood War content every single week. Every single week. I don't miss days. Ask anybody who's been here for a while. I do not miss days. And haven't since 2015 when I started my channel. This is year 7? Wow, coming up on year 7 of casting Brood War. Well, StarCraft 2. Started off with Hearthstone and StarCraft 2, continued StarCraft 2, and then introduced Brood War back in 2016. I believe it was. My first Brood War cast was in 2016, and I was just feeling like, It was just, I just wanted to do it, because I liked Brood War. I've been playing it since 98. Not that great at it, obviously. I never really got up to, like, anything on the ladder. I enjoy it very much. It brings me much happiness, and I figured maybe it's something I'd like casting, and it turned out to be something I really like casting. So, SCV getting out of there before the Marine can chase it down. Light is smart enough to check that out. Is there anything interesting to see here? Nah, man. Both players opening up factory after barracks. Although a Marine does come out early here from Sharp to chase that SCV away, and I don't think there's a Marine here at all. Just floating that barracks right across the map for scouting purposes, because nobody opens up Goliath. You're going to open up either vultures or siege tanks at this location. So yeah, send the barracks across for scouting purposes. Let the SCV harass. Let the SCV scout all at once here. We're not actually going to be able to kill it if we don't have a Marine or a Vulture out. But both players open up Vulture. Sharp comes in and says, hey, you don't have a Marine. I know that because I've been scouting. So I'm going to delay construction on your second base for quite a bit, which, by the way, is underway for Sharp here too. And I kind of like this. So not opening up Marine leaves you open to an enemy Marine. Huh. Who saw that coming? Obviously, we're waiting for a Vulture to come in, and there we go. Vulture has arrived. Marine's going to die. Construction's going to continue on the command center. It is definitely later than the one that Sharp is rolling with for the reason of that Marine harassment. So, hey, you make a Marine, you're a little bit behind that way, but then you come in and delay construction on the command center, and you're a little bit ahead at that stage. Incredible stuff. Machine shop on the way now that we have a Vulture out for harassment purposes or defend against harassment purposes. Both players have 2 Vultures, orange jumpsuits on these guys, and brown jumpsuits on these guys. Don't quite pop as much as the orange jumpsuits, it would turn out. So far, so good. Both players obviously in the top of their game. Nobody's going to die to early Vulture harass because they forgot to make another one or whatever. But yeah, this is... yeah, Vulture on Vulture action. And a little repair. Oh, actually, did that SCV get a kill? No, I don't think that SCV got a kill. But it's definitely going to stick around and die. We are repairing that Vulture up with a giant cadre of SCVs. This Vulture gets out with 1 kill. Doesn't have the HP to fight with this Vulture that has full HP. And pulls back. And then lands the barracks here. Sharp, insolent. Same thing here from Light. Is he going to go ahead and land the barracks inside the enemy base? Hilarious stuff, man. Then lifts it off. Keeps floating it around. I mean, honestly, scouting in this matchup is like, whatever. Like, we know you're going to have vultures and tanks. And then maybe once there's giant tank lines set up and they're really hard to break, maybe then battle cruisers, maybe then a Wraith play. But by that point, we'll have a lot of comsat stations available, and that's just we're gonna be able to scout wherever we want. Light seems to be going for a pretty quick third base based on this SCV timing here. You going for a third base, friendo? Is that what you're up to? You're gonna go for a third? Because Sharp isn't. Sharp's definitely not going for a third base yet. Walling off a little bit with supply depots at the front, which is not something that Light is interested in doing, but hey, to each their own. There's actually a lot of vultures from Light, and actually a bunch here from Sharp too. So 6 versus 6. So yeah, 6 on 6 is just defender's advantage, right? You have SCVs here that can repair. Both players individually targeting individual vultures. You can do that here. Actually, not as well. Also, the repair helps so much in this situation. Oh, does it though? Suddenly it's forwarded. Whoa! How did that go so well? I thought Sharp was doing a good job target firing there. A couple SCVs gonna die. Bringing a vulture down. Oh, that one's dead too. The aggression right now is pretty real. But then a siege tank shows up, and then suddenly one siege tank is worth like 4 vultures. We're gonna kill as many of these SCVs as we can. There's actually a Marine producing in Light's barracks down here, which is friggin' hilarious. And no, not going for the third base yet here is Light, but the aggression from the Orange Protoss is pretty real, man. He's just not worried about it. He's like, yeah, there's an enemy tank here, so what? Yeah, the enemy tank has 3 kills already. So what? We're gonna, oh, spider mines are getting tossed down. SCVs are gonna take hits. Oh, they're not gonna trigger the spider mines because they float, but maybe if the tank triggers them, they're gonna explode. This is some super aggressive play. Light's up 37 to 29 workers right now. Obviously, enemy vultures don't trigger spider mines either because, well, they float as well. Yeah, spider mines had to be balanced around some certain things, and one of those was that workers and enemy vultures couldn't trigger them. So this is pretty intense, honestly. Light's up a full 39 to 30 workers right now. He actually might honestly be able to toss down a third command center here if he wants. I feel like he can win this thing right now. I hope he doesn't. Maybe he does. This is a good number. That is 10 vultures out. Back home here for Sharp, there are 8. Again, having a siege tank with siege mode is amazing, but he's getting spider mine research first. And siege mode is coming in from Light. So does he have any tanks yet for that? No. Is he producing any tanks? Yes. He's producing exactly 2 tanks to use with the newly upgraded and researched siege mode. Like, I get why you have to research things like siege mode from a game perspective, but from a lore perspective, isn't it kind of weird you're in a fight and in a battle and like coming up with brand new innovations while the battle's raging on? Right? I know that's how war works, but it's just, maybe we're supposed to think of these battles taking place over weeks and months and years rather than just over 20 minutes, right? Maybe that's the way to look at Brood War. Makes me think anyway. So many vultures and spider mines happening here. We're not going to get tank lines for a minute just because we're so interested in absolutely murdering each other with vultures. It's kind of like Muta versus Muta fights. I don't know what we're looking at here. Somebody sure is winning, and it sure seems to be all of a sudden Sharp. There we go, but it was kind of hard to tell who was winning at any given time. Spider mine laid. And triggered. Triggered by the stationary tank. Oh, that's so good. Tank count is reduced mightily there for Light here. Single siege tank back here. I kind of feel like the vultures can handle that if they jumped in right now, which they don't know that, I don't think, but extra siege tanks are arriving. It's a little extra difficult to deal with. Siege tank's going to siege up. I mean, getting some free hits off on these vultures as they try to come in is always a fantastic idea. Meanwhile, barracks continuing to fly around there because nobody has Goliaths yet. So dealing with these floating barracks is super mega annoying. On the other side, the floating barracks of Sharp seems to have been killed by siege tanks or whatever. So kind of some sloppy play there from Sharp. But he doesn't have it. Oh no, it's over here. Just kidding. He's got it. He's not scouting with it anymore. At least as far as scouting the enemy bases are concerned. Vultures kind of suck at killing buildings, but if given enough time, they'll take it out. It's kind of like Wraiths are bad against buildings, and Arbiters, but give them enough time, they'll take a building down because they do some damage to it. It's just not a lot. Not really intended for that purpose. Supply block here on Light? Nah. 82 out of 84 supply, but close. 48 to 44 workers in favor of Light here. So all that aggression that he did, remember? Killing all those SCVs, getting that advantage is basically gone. Sharp's done a pretty good job continuing to make SCVs and making that up here, and not really actually being ahead in army supply as well at this stage, if not close to even anyway. So yeah, both players making them siege tanks. A bit of a push happening here from Light. Coming up the right side. Any sign of a third kind? Ah, there's a spider mine blocking Sharp's attempt to take a third at the 12 o'clock. Brutal. Absolutely brutal reality there. Just hurts a lot. Third command center coming up inside the natural base of Light. I'm going to try to land it down here, but again, Spider-Mine's causing problems there as well, obviously. So just kind of a lot of sharking around from both players. Spider-Mines make the minimap fairly unreadable because Spider-Mines show up at the same dot size as a whole siege tank on the minimap, which is just like, really, why? Because this game was programmed in 1998, that's why, but you maybe would have thought, oh, some Goliaths are out. Maybe with the remaster they could change the size of the dots on the minimap, but no. They can't. Just enemy unit, man. So floating barracks for Light finally dies. Goliath's taking that sucker out. You can use barracks to float on out and give that extra vision, which is exactly what this one is doing for Sharp. Siege tank's firing up this left side. Ah, Vulture's a little bit sloppy running into that. If you've ever played StarCraft, you know how difficult the control is in this situation. Like, you send the Vultures around, and if they just wander right into the range of a siege tank, they're just going to take shots and they're gonna die. Anyway, right side base. There you go. Gonna land your third base here. Intriguingly is Light. Not going to take the Cyclock instead, expanding towards Sharp on the other hand. Very interesting. 108 to 128 supply. Light has taken a massive lead all of a sudden. It's not, I mean, third base exists for both players just barely, so it's not like Light's had a third base for much longer than Sharp has, because that's not the case. Light's just been macroing a little bit better, it would seem like. Here he's got a giant tank count. They don't have any upgrades yet, but both players are working on vehicle weapons level 1, and, I mean, Light's just ahead. Sharp's is about 50% behind, which means there's going to be a significant upgrade advantage here, but does it really make a difference? Can you kill tanks faster if you have +1 attack? I don't know that's entirely possible if you're a siege tank. That's right. Get on out. Get on out of there. Immediately starting +2 here. Got that +3 attack advantage on his siege tanks and his vultures. Handful of vultures kind of stuck over here. I mean, you could trap them in there, I would assume. Because, I mean, chasing down vultures and killing them is impossible. They're just super fast. I don't think there's anything in the Terran arsenal that is faster than vultures, with speed upgrade, obviously. Both players getting some drop ships, dropping very effective when it comes to a TVT for sure. Little vulture action. Once again, just too many vultures here from Sharp. Plus, well, even with the without the upgrade advantage, he's doing just fine. Thanks. Maybe checking to see if there's a third base down here from Light. Sharp's like, wait, what? Why is there not a third base down here? And the answer is, well, he tricked you. He's got a base over this way, which you're scouting with the engineering bay, so you can see this. So checking down this way, I guess for a fourth base. Nothing happening there either. Top left base, actually, from Sharp. Going for a fourth, but Vultures find their way in. Kill a couple probes. I mean, they may be trapped. There may be nowhere else for them to go, I guess. This siege tank probably needs to unsiege. Oh, but getting his face dropped on by Sharp here. Oh, that's sick. Right inside that minimum attack range, and bam. Hold on to it. Like, come deal with these vultures. There we go. Vultures are like, hey, Look at him just staring. Maybe you should fire on this guy. I don't know. Look at that. They got red eyes. That's kind of cool. Why are you not firing on this tank? Sometimes if something isn't in range. Sometimes if something's getting attacked, but it's not in range to see or attack the thing that's attacking them, they kind of freak out a little bit. So yeah, fourth base rolling here from Sharp. Still just the 3 now from Light, but he's still up 171 to 153 supply. So he's got the bigger army. The question is getting advantage of it. Tank versus tank engagement up the left side. Light doesn't even feel the need to siege his tanks for most of it. Oh, if he can get up to this angle, he can cut off reinforcements from Sharp. As he maybe tries to get up here and wipe out that top left base, that would be pretty hot by him. Pretty fantastic indeed. And then just trying to drop up here and kill this thing. Does he have the advantage to do so? He's got a couple siege tanks. He's going to siege up in the back. Yeah, and then a couple vultures to protect the tanks from things getting too close. And he's trying to shut this base down. Meanwhile, a drop coming down here through the southern section by Sharp, maybe making a direct run for the main base of Light, which could be pretty damaging indeed. He's like, I gotta do something because I'm losing my fourth base advantage here. Gonna unload directly on top of the supply depots, on top of this missile turret, but Light saw it coming. He's got reinforcements coming in. Yeah, clears that out. I think loses one supply depot, but not much more than anything else. Light looking good on that one. And Siege Tank has to unsiege. I'm guessing some spider mines came up and caused some problems there. Repairing the command center so it doesn't die to the fourth base. He manages to save it. And at the 6 o'clock base here, Light getting a fourth base of his own while kind of denying the fourth base of Sharp a little bit at least. There's still a dropship. There's still a dropship up there. Coming through the center of the map, though. Sharp kicking butt and taking names. It's a floating science facility there. Upgrades are sitting at a +1 versus a +2 with that +3 for Sharp. Or rather, +2 for Sharp is very close to coming on in here. So upgrade advantage is good, but for a minute, it's just fairly minimal for Light. Checking to see maybe if a 5th base would be possible down in this bottom left for Light. $74 to 74 workers on the nose at this stage. Light just has a bigger army. 186 to 165 supply is entirely army difference. Cruising up once again, maybe going to try to wipe out this top left base. Siege tanks coming up the left side. Vultures getting into the 12 o'clock. Wow, very bravely sneaking on in here with their +2 attack. Looking extremely strong, 20 +4 on that. But unfortunately not able to handle the reinforcements that came to save the day. Another command center coming up for Light along the left side. Interesting place for a 5th. It's a little bit exposed, but maybe he's got tanks in the area. Maybe he's just feels safer taking this one than the other. Oh, big old drop right on that 3rd base of Sharp, or rather of Light on the right side. It's just on Sharp's side of the map. I always forget that it's Light's down here, but he has to lift that one off and run for it. This is getting pretty chaotic all of a sudden, and then Light heads up the left side, says, you know what? We are making sure that you don't get a 4th base. I think Light is taking control of this game right now. He's just absolutely landing on taking away bases of Sharp as well as he possibly can, but guess what? Oh, Sharp building on Light's 3rd base remnants. This is a very, very close game. Sharp suddenly has a big army advantage, 179 to 166, but a lot of the SCVs are going down. Both players losing a ton of SCVs, and now we're actually at 60 versus 60 after all that. Another drop heading bottom left. Oh, he doesn't know. He does know. He's got it. Well, does he know? He doesn't know there's a base here. He thinks there's a bottom left base. Or maybe this is where he wants to expand to, but look at this. He's a little bit surprised. He's like, why is there not a base here? Well, let's Spider-Man that up so it's ours. Center being held by Sharp right now. Sure, it's 188 to 160 supply. Sharp suddenly has a big-time army value lead and, well, workers advantage as well. So Light hanging on the left, but there's really no SCVs there. Dropships flying past their friends on the ground. What's up, friends, they say. Vulture's coming in from Sharp to try to shut down this left side base of Light, and wow. Is Sharp going to win this game? It's suddenly 192 to 156 supply. Siege tanks sieging up to try to save it. They do manage to do so. SCV's transferring into a war zone, but it gets cleaned out fairly effectively. Siege tanks heading south. Sharp's got high ground siege tanks that are very hard to engage with, but if you can scan the high ground, you're going to be just fine. Thanks for asking. Command center from Light trying to land down this way. Man, I know Sharp has a big time advantage in overall army supply, but he hasn't necessarily been able, I think, to just take huge advantage of that. You know what I mean? All right, unloading completely inside the main base of Light. If he can't remove this, it's going to be one heck of a problem for him. SCV's on the low, or tanks on the low ground causing some issues. SCV's trying to repair. Goodness gracious, long distance mining workers in the bottom left-hand corner here too. Factories going down is a pretty big deal. Both players losing a ton of army value there. 176 to 143 supply right now. Map kind of cut in half, but it really seems to be favoring Light. And then a big dropship army comes in and says, stop killing my factories. I'm going to land right on your face and take y'all down. So Light reestablishes control of his main, which is a big deal. Absolutely. 166 to 140 supply now. Sharp decides to make a move down south. He's going to attack directly into an established tank line. From Light, these tanks do have the +3 attack, +2 for Sharp, but he outnumbers in siege tank help. But reinforcements coming in from Light along the right side, but setting up in kind of enemy siege mode. Oh no, suddenly Light losing a ton of siege tanks here. Oh, 2 more go down very quickly. Another one of Sharp evaporates. 136 to 109 supply. It's been a big bloodbath for both players at this stage of the game. The drops have been excellent for both players. The ability to clean up said drops has been very good too for both of these dudes. Hit that like button if you appreciate the work these players have put into this match. It's been very, very good, but another huge drop. Landing on top of Spider Mines though. Sharp's got to be careful about that one, I would say. Tanks rolling down. If Light can't hang on to this bottom left-hand corner, which I'm not entirely sure that he can, but I mean, Sharp only has the 2 mining bases right now. Light effectively has 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got 4 of them. SCVs are trying to fight it. No! Light taps out. Light with the GG in 22 minutes. It feels a little bit premature, but I guess he doesn't really have a way to defend this base or this base. Those are effectively dead. I mean, sure, he's got this left side base he's mining from and the 6 o'clock base he's mining from, but his main base is mined out. So what do we got? Two bases mining, but also it's 2 bases mining here for Sharp too. Sharp doesn't have a ton of money. He just has a slighter. It's like 20, 25 more value in army supply, right? But he's got the +3 here. I guess where are his units? Where are Light's tanks is the question. He's got 3, 4, 5, 6 here. He is producing them 4 at a time. Maybe that's the problem. These tanks in a line are not giving him really any value. These tanks are holding that high ground, so these can't be threatened. Maybe bringing these tanks down at the same time, he just maybe didn't feel like doing that, right? Didn't want to unsiege, come all the way down. Was it enough time to save this base? Probably not. But a counterattack possibly? I don't know. This is very tricky. More tanks and more tanks being produced here from Sharp all the time coming through. Top left belongs to no one, obviously. It's a little premature, but I can understand where Light is coming from there and why he tapped out. So great TVT, tons of drops. No Sky Terran units, but hey, that's your TVT for you sometimes. 139,000 points there from Sharp, 132 from Light. Killing 225 and 233 respectively, producing 380 to 360 respectively. So Light produced more, killed fewer. Sharp produced fewer, killed more. Intriguingly enough, they both lost the exact same number of units, which is interesting. Buildings raised way more by Sharp, and resources incredibly even. 45,800 to 45,300 in favor of Light, but just by 300 resource units. Amazing. Amazing stuff. Great job. Really solid TVT there. A ton of fun. Hope TVT fans are happy, because I think that was a lot of fun. And yeah, that's going to be it for me. This has been Falcon Paladin coming at you with yet another edition of StarCraft Brood War Remastered. Go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe if you like what you saw and what you heard today. You can also catch me on Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, and Twitch, all at /Falcon Paladin. Until next time, as always, thank you so much for watching, and you take care of yourself.